next Sunday night. We'll find out a little bit more about both those teams. I would have to believe, but McCaffrey is got about 35% of the vote. So he wins the Hemi. Who wins this game tonight? RC, let's start with you.
I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. Just what we've seen Geno Smith do over the last 2 weeks, the way he's clicking with his offense, that run game as well. And I expect those young defenders on the back end with Tyreek Woolen back tonight to make some plays.
I'm going with Seattle as well. I think Noah Fan is set for a big night tonight. I think he can take advantage of the middle of this field. And also, Jamal Adams is back.
Yeah.
Who went to LSU. Who's a phenomenal football player. I'm going to celebrate tonight with the win for the Seattle Seahawks.
You going somewhere tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm going with the Seahawks as well.
What's up, guys? What's up, Hudson? You're the first one in here, so you're a minute early, so you're all good. If you gotta finish things up, I gotta post it on Twitter. Hopefully we get some in here, but
Put on the board. Somehow, some way. Sometimes it's not about analysis, it's about a home team has to figure out how to win this game. Somehow the Giants in a close one. I said they get this victory.
Okay. So this regular season was something to behold, and I think I've said it in a lot of my videos, finishing up this year and all that stuff, regular season wise, I think no matter how this ends, we're gonna remember the season and in a way that we will always cherish, because I don't think you're gonna see a team like this again in terms of the record-breaking stuff. So it would be only fitting if we are able to pull this thing off, but we all know that playoffs are crapshoot and anything can happen, and it's going to be a wild, hopefully fun and long ride. But I did want to, first of all, talk some MLB news from today. Brandon Woodruff is unfortunately out for the Brewers with a shoulder issue, and it sounds like it's a severe shoulder issue, so he might even miss the entire playoffs. And that's the thing that scares you about the Brewers. They're pitching 1, 2, 3 if you had Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, but they still do have Wade Miley and Peralta and Burns. So, I mean, the Brandon Woodruff thing really hurts for him. But I think if anybody's going to go overcome it, they can with their amazing bullpen. Again, but if you see so many pieces in a bullpen, sometimes you get better, so that could be an issue for him too. But I think every team this year kind of has pitching issues. So it's really going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to come down to what it usually comes down to. But there could be some different things that we see in this postseason, because everybody has pitching issues, injury issues, and scary pins. If you're talking about the Phillies have good pieces, but they've also had a lot of late blown leads. Despite being the first wild card. The Rangers, same thing. Tampa's dealt with a ton of pitching injuries. We have dealt with a ton of pitching injuries and adversity in that area, and who knows? We're definitely going to be the hunted. That's an extra pressure given the enormity and the success that we've had this year. But the first thing I thought of when I was thinking of doing this is the reality that we've had, Jared Schuster, Dylan Dodd, Alan Winans, Darius Vines, just so many, Michael Soroka, just so many guys that you probably weren't expecting, and having Kyle Wright out 4 months, Max out 3 months, Charlie Morton up and down, and then now the finger injury, Jackson Stevens being huge down the stretch, eating innings, if nothing else, that I don't think anyone was expecting. Yanni Chirino's contributing. I think that is one of the more impressive things about this Brave season, getting 104 wins, having so many records, is because we didn't really ever have a stable rotation. Bryce Elder struggling in the second half, but him being an all-star, and deservedly so, in the first half. And I'm guarantee you he will play some role in this postseason. I'm just not sure which right now. But if he didn't have the all-star first half, I don't know if we're talking all of the greatness that we are talking today about the Braves. 104 wins and using like 17, 18 starters. Really, really impressive. And yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And for those that were like, we should have gotten a starter at the deadline, maybe. But you look at the starters that did go at the deadline. Lucas Giolito was on like 3 teams: Angels, Cleveland, and the White Sox this year. Lance Lynn has had some good starts with the Dodgers, but more bad than good, especially with the home run ball for him. Michael Lorenzen had the no-hitter to start his Phillies career, but then kind of fluttered and may be out of the bullpen in this wild card series. I'm not sure how they're going to play it. So, and Jack Flaherty for the Orioles was demoted to the bullpen as well. So, I think the way we approached it and we did it, obviously having the big lead that we did helped tremendously, but I think not getting a starter, it may hurt us now because Charlie Morton's out, but we've dealt with so much adversity in the pitching department. I don't think we're going to be afraid to be creative, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how we play the pitching side of the roster. But that is the first thing that I wanted to point out. That's just weird that, like Hudson said, we tied a record like we did with the amount of starters, and obviously the historic offense really, really helped cover it up a little bit for sure. But yeah, and AJ Smith-Shawver, Darius Vines, Alan Winans, I think those guys are more important in a Braves uniform than whatever we could have gotten, because now they have impactful experience and they've been when the lights are brightest. So I believe that that's a really good point, that if we would, it's sometimes the trade you don't make because would you have loved somebody? Yeah, but we don't necessarily have the plush farm system that we did in our rebuilds because they've all graduated to helping us in Major League Baseball. So, or the big club. So it's very, very good point. AJ Smith-Shawver could be a dark horse. I don't really like the walkiness of his arsenal, but he could he could be a dark horse for the playoff roster in my mind. I don't know that. Haven't heard anything about Nick Anderson. So that's probably a no, but we'll see, I guess. I think Kyle Wright's going to play a big role. And not having so much mileage on his arm could be a blessing in disguise. But and then on the offensive side, there's so many avenues and angles I could go with the way the season played out. But I think the most happy thing I'm about that happened this year offensively, obviously all the records, but the fact of the matter is Orlando Arcia made us all believers and made us all remember that he was hey Joseph, people are going to complain about anything, and they would complain about I've said this before, but I think people would complain if we won 162 games and lost 0 and won the World Series. I feel like people would complain no matter what. And obviously we're going to have the workouts, live workouts to try to keep the intensity up as we don't play until next Saturday, I think. So I think our relievers are going to be fine. And what's up, Chris? And I think everything is going to play out the way it should. And obviously you're scared of pitching, but I think, again, everybody has pitching issues, some bigger than others, but you're just going to see how it plays out. And but the offensive storylines that I was happiest to happen was Orlando in his all-star season, and just the relative consistency he had. Obviously had him more of a valley. He went 2 for 30 through that last Philly game at home, but what do you mean? What's happening to Braves country? I think it's still, I mean, if you look at Braves country through social media is an interesting place to be, but as long as you use it right and have a good head on your shoulders, I'm not worried about Braves country, and we all just want our teams to win. So I think it's that's the reality, or at least that's the reality of the way I look at social media. Yeah, and the brotherhood of this team, you could see it every single day. And no matter how the game was going, we're going to give you 27 hard outs and see what happens. And that could carry you through just as much as anything on the field. which is a great thing. And then the other offensive storyline that I was really happy about was, well, there's a lot, but Michael Harris II was his turnaround was something to behold, and I was actually in attendance for the Throw It Again game when Michael Harris was hitting 163 at his lowest. So, and then immediately after that, he kind of just took off, and the idea, he had sophomore slump for the first 2 months, and the one thing I couldn't believe was that people actually wanted Michael Harris sent down, because his defense, no matter what he's hitting, his defense is so valuable. And I never wanted that, and I'm so glad that he was able to turn it around, obviously, but that the Braves were, there was no chatter or outward chatter that we heard from the Braves about that possibility. And it's just remarkable what he did. And you guys are talking about Marcell Ozuna, and obviously Big Bear, his turnaround, I said it yesterday. I think it's one of the greatest turnarounds in sports that I've ever seen. And I'll preface it by saying, whatever you think about the off the field stuff, I'm not condoning any of it ever. I never have. But he's in a Braves uniform, and I'm really happy that he was the one to get the tying homer. What he did, getting the last 3 homers of the year, just kind of personifies what Big Bear has gone through. And Michael Harris contributes his turnaround to having a conversation with Marcell Ozuna, and Marcell Ozuna just saying, "You're the best center fielder in the bigs. Now act like it." So having 3 guys with 40 homers and over 100 RBIs, that shows the offensive bonkersness that the Braves were in 2023 and are in 2023, and the love that you gathered from the Braves clubhouse and the support for Marcell Ozuna is something that I don't think you can quantify. So yeah, I don't care who we play in the NLDS. Just go 3 games and use about 17 pitchers each. Is my ultimate goal there. But I talked about some unsung heroes pitching staff wise, so I guess I should do that as well, position player wise, even though we have a pretty set lineup. You got things like Nicky Lopez. That acquisition, nobody thought anything of it, and now we all love Nicky and what he brings. The Austin Riley, I'm game. I mean, they called a Bryce Harper homer, inside the park homer against the Giants, and the Giants outfielder dropped it like 8 times. And in Austin Riley's case, it probably should be an error, but the way they've called errors this year, It could be. I doubt they'll go back and change it because they'll say that record has an asterisk to it. But the D-backs have a better chance to get past the Brewers with the Brandon Woodruff shoulder issue that those are really smart trade. And Pierce Johnson, I've seen it said that Pierce Johnson might be the Tyler Matzek of this year, and he's pitched like it, and I don't see why not. I mean, he's been absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, because he had a year in Japan, we have to release him, but this offseason I hope we sign him back. And I don't think Pierce Johnson ever had an attitude, Joseph. I think he got out of Colorado and realized what kind of clubhouse we have, and that turned it around. And a Orioles-Braves World Series I don't know if I would survive that, just because how electric and fun both of us are. And I like the Orioles, so that would, I guess it kind of would be easier to swallow if we didn't win it, but it's never going to be easy to swallow if we don't win it. But I like the Orioles a lot, and even though they will not have Felix Bautista, so that should be interesting, but Pierce Johnson was probably the acquisition of the trade deadline that no one really has talked about, and he actually won the reliever of the month for September. And obviously, the other offensive storyline is the Ronald Acuna Jr. of it all. And you could sit here and talk 3 hours about Ronald Acuna Jr. By himself. 41-73 is what he ended up with. A record for runs scored, doing all his stuff the way he has, and done it in a pretty darn humble. Yeah, he's an electric factory and he has fun, but it's not like he's mocking people or anything of that nature, despite Rob Thompson saying that he has. And Iggy's been pretty darn he's had a couple of clunkers here and there, but I mean, the thing about Raisel Iglesias is he keeps pitching and he still gives us a chance to win, even if it goes a little haywire, and that's what you love about Raisel Iglesias. And yeah, he's been probably a very, very underrated closer, even though he has like 37 saves or whatever the numbers are. You don't hear. I think that's the thing about our bullpen. Yeah, does some people make you sweat more than others? Kirby Yates, yeah, I'm speaking mainly of, and I don't know that Michael Tonkin may not make the roster because he's at a 5 ERA in the second half, but we definitely wouldn't be where we are without Michael Tompkins. So that's going to be an interesting development and thing to watch on the playoff roster. And it's funny that a lot of our bullpen pieces are unheralded names: Joe Jimenez, Pierce Johnson, Iggy, even AJ Minter. People know AJ Minter, but I don't think he gets a lot of play. Maybe because he gives up so many cheap hits and stuff. I don't know. But yeah. But and people still trying to make an MVP case for cases for Betts are just jealous and angry because Mookie Betts is able to be versatile doesn't change the fact that Ronald Acuna Jr. Joseph, you don't have to redact your messages. I agree with all the things you're saying, so you don't need to redact them unless you want to. But yeah, just because Mookie Betts adds versatility does not mean that in a historic season that we may not see again unless Ronald does it. That's insane to me. And I mean, if Acuna didn't have the year he's having, you would definitely hear Matt Olson. Matt Olson probably would be a unanimous MVP, but having two MVP candidates and 1-2 in the voting is something to behold, and that's why the season has been so special, and that's why I said I think we're going to remember it no matter how this ends, but I really want to end on top because it might be one of probably the best baseball team in an era we've seen top to bottom, hopefully. I even though it wouldn't be smart to, you probably would if it helped us win, but the reality is the reality, and Ronald's in a class of his own. He created another section of the MLB record books. So that's all you got to say for me on that. I did want to speak on real quick the catching situation of again, I don't care who we play. I just want to win and win convincingly, even though I know I'm going to have several heart attacks. But I did want to speak on something that's kind of bugging me in terms of the narrative of our catching position. I know Murphy and d'Arnaud have struggled in the second half. I know that at the plate and all that stuff, but Murphy has still got into good counts. Had a lot of 3-ball counts, still walked, still done positive things, and you still they still commanded the pitching staff amazingly. And I feel really good about Murphy having. Yeah, I don't know if a body part touched there on the touchdown for the Seahawks. I don't know. I can't You can. I don't think you can overturn that, but they might. But I just feel like Sean Murphy is gonna have a huge postseason, and just I just have that feeling. And Travis had some big hits the last time we were in the postseason with an injured thumb, so I just have a feeling that the catchers are gonna make a big impact, and even though their numbers were putrid in comparison to the first half, both of them, they were still vitally important. So I just wanted to put that out there because the narratives of the narratives and the slander of Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud, they know they struggled. They know it. It's not a secret, obviously. But I just have that in my bones that Sean Murphy's going to be huge in the postseason. Although I don't know if they're going to be able to overturn that touchdown by Seattle. That's a weird one. But he got up because nobody blew the whistle, and then he stopped. So I don't know if that tells you anything about that. But the Gabe Kapler firing kind of surprised me in the Giant